Welcome back to Slothbox. I'm Lyndon Dixon, and this is the review show talking about all the biggest boxing that's happened over the last weekend. And as we discussed in the preview show, it was Tasha Jonas at home defending her belts in Liverpool in the Echo Arena against Mikaela. Now, Jonas won that fight on a split decision, but we will talk about controversy and bits around that in a little minute. But first, let's talk about the rest of the card. Zach Chelli beat Jack Cullen for Cullen's British and Commonwealth titles. And yeah, that Cullen afterwards seemed a bit dejected, posted on Instagram. It feels like that could be one of the last times we see him. I feel like he's been in a lot of great British fights. I mean, he had that huge win against Yildirim, I think it was, back in one of the fight camps for Matchroom. So yeah, he's had a decent little career, and just a shame he ended it on a bit of a low. But yeah, Zach Chelli, what is next for that man? He's won those British and Commonwealth titles. And then elsewhere on the card, you had Mark Jeffers, who beat Jermaine Brown to win the English title. Now, Mark Jeffers has already beaten Zach Chelli before in an upset, so it'd be interesting to see them two go at it again, but with even more on the line. So Chelli's now British and Commonwealth champion against the new English champion in Mark Jeffers. That'd be a great fight. Now you see, I said that Jeffers against Brown was going to be the sleeper on the card, and yeah, it was a great little fight. For anyone that saw that, it was on a little bit earlier in the night. It was a great fight. Mark Jeffers really looks like a decent fighter, and I feel like last night, with the performance that he did, he just looked solid throughout, and people are now starting to realise he's decent. He's very decent. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens to him, because you got that Zach Chelli rematch that's right there. You got Callum Simpson, another fighter on the Boxer roster, who's sort of making a name for himself, or at least last year he did anyway. So for Simpson, it'll be interesting to see what he does. An English title might, be something that he's looking to add to that trophy cabinet. Or, Mark Jeffers said after the fight yesterday, there's even Brad Ray, who's now moved up in weight. Now, Brad's had a couple losses, but he's been working away from the cameras and the spotlight, and it feels like he is back in the big time this year, so it'll be interesting to see what he does. Elsewhere on the card, you had brilliant prospect, in my opinion. Now, he's like 17-0, but still, I feel like there's plenty to come from this man. Aaron McKenna knocked out his replacement fighter in Mikaela, and yeah, he just looked leagues above him. Yeah, Ellison had short notice, but I feel like whether he had plenty of notice or not, Aaron McKenna's quality would have shone through, and that's no slight to Ellison. I just feel like McKenna is that good. We've had him on the channel plenty of times, and I think James even got him on straight after the fight. So yeah, make sure you go and watch that video to see who he calls out for next. I'll give you a little teaser. He's speaking about Chris Eubank. Now, is it too early for him? Would Eubank take that fight? I don't think Eubank would, but if the money's right, money talks, people. We know that in the sport of boxing. Now, let's talk about the main event in Liverpool, in the Echo Arena. Tasha Jonas beat Mikaela on a split decision. Now, social media erupted straight after that. As soon as Jonas got her hand raised, people saying it was a robbery, and now it's the second time that May has been robbed on UK soil. Now, for me personally, it was a close fight, okay? I feel like I'm going to get shit in the comments, but with a close fight, you can't call it a robbery if it goes the other way. It's Maya's unlucky, of course, and, it's one of those things that maybe she should have won the fight. But a robbery, I feel like, is a term that gets bandied about in boxing these days way too much. If Maya won sort of 9 of the 12 rounds and then Jonas gets a hand raised, that's a robbery. Ngannou against Fury, that was a robbery. It just, recent memory. But yeah, I feel like it was a close fight and it could have gone either way. And for me, it's just, did Jonas edge it? She was in her hometown. You can say what you want. I don't feel like it should mean anything to the judges, but whether it should or shouldn't doesn't mean jack. It always does. The home fighter will always get that little bit of advantage, and Maya didn't do enough, obviously, to take that advantage away from her. Now, straight after the fight, Maya's calling for the rematch, saying that she wants a rematch because Jonas had the clause in her contract, but Maya didn't have one in hers. So whether Jonas says, fine, go on, I'll give you a rematch and beat you again. But more talk that Maya said she'd like the rematch to be 3-minute rounds so they can both get to work. And, we talk about equality in sport, and for me, I feel like that's the most obvious, easiest next step you can make that would just show that, get rid of these 2-minute rounds. Come on. The fights are over in a blink. And for some of these fighters, they need to warm into the fight. I mean, Maya, she was definitely coming into it into the end, or sort of from the 4th round onwards, But that's what I mean. Those couple rounds she lost at the start, could that have been enough to sway the judges? Now, 3-minute rounds, that's the way to go forward. And yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. Was it a robbery? Do you disagree with me? Am I waffling again? Did Jonas do enough to edge it? What do you think Zach Chelly's going to do next? Do you think he's good enough to take on those that are above him now? Could we put him in there with Callum Simpson? Or what's Jeffers going to do? Did Jeffers look good? What could Aaron McKenna do? Could he fight Eubank? Probably not. But do you think he'd win if they were in the ring together? Let me know. Decent little card on Boxer. Underwhelming at times, but at the end of the day, the card had a few decent fights on. And yeah, that's it. The review show where we talk about the biggest bets boxing of the weekend. I've been Lyndon Dixon. Take it easy, stay safe, and we'll see you on the next one.